Hello and welcome to today's podcast. I'm Susan Guthrie, your host, and today I welcome two friends and colleagues to the podcast who are here to talk about a wonderful initiative through the AAA-ICDR Foundation, and I'm very excited to have both of them here. Bruce Meyerson, his honor, is a arbitrator and mediator in Phoenix, Arizona, and as I just referenced, a former judge on the Arizona Court of Appeals and General Counsel of Arizona State University. He's also notably a past chair of my beloved AAA-ICDR section, an adjunct professor at ASU, and is a member of the board of AAA-ICDR Foundation. And then we're also joined by Tracey Frisch, who is senior counsel for AAA. She's also an adjunct professor at Pace University now and formerly at Cardozo in my former city of New York City. And she's a member of the U.S. District Court for Southern District of New York pro bono mediation panel, specializing in employment discrimination cases, which I would imagine is heating up a bit in the current environment that we find ourselves in. So I'm very happy to have you both here with us, with me today. Thank you so much for joining me.
Well, and thank you, Susan, for giving us this opportunity.
Yeah, I'm very excited to talk about this. This episode came about when I was speaking to another one of our colleagues, Jeff Zano, who is a vice president in the commercial division at AAA, also out of New York. And Jeff, anyone out there who doesn't know Jeff, just go to LinkedIn. You'll find Jeff pretty much everywhere on LinkedIn. But he mentioned to me one of the programs that the foundation is sponsoring or has launched in this past year. And it sounded like such a wonderful initiative. I asked the two of you to come on so we can highlight it so that more people hopefully will know about the initiative as well as hopefully apply. But Tracey, maybe you could start us off with a little bit of a background on AAA-ICDR Foundation. First of all, I had to look up what ICDR was, so I knew AAA.
Yep. So AAA is the American Arbitration Association, and ICDR is our international division of dispute resolution, of our dispute resolution center. And the foundation was founded by the AAA in 2015. I'll let Bruce go into a little bit of detail about sort of what the foundation's been doing in the last 5 years, but it's a really exciting initiative that really is there to give to organizations that you'll hear more about who are doing good works in the field of ADR and things other than what the AAA does on a day-to-day basis. Bruce, if you want to highlight some things that the foundation's been doing, that'd be wonderful.
I can add to that. And of course, those of us who've been involved in conflict resolution remember the 70s and the 80s when there were foundations to support innovative applications of dispute resolution. But as our work became more integrated into the justice system, those foundations moved on to other topics. And so today, there are really only a handful of organizations that are still concerned with developing new and innovative uses of mediation and arbitration, and our AAA-ICDR Foundation is one of those. And as Tracey pointed out, we are 5 years old, and we are really very fortunate to have the support of the American Arbitration Association. And so the truth is that I think that without that support, we could not have been as effective as we are. So we have made over $2 million in grants to 68 different organizations around the country and the world. And I think we're making a difference and in a number of key areas, promoting greater diversity in the use of dispute resolution, mediation, expanding innovative uses such as using mediation and collaborative decision-making to address climate change, to help communities improve relations with police. And so we really are very, very pleased about the progress that we've made and the results that we've seen.
Yeah, I was looking at the website and noticed that I think you gave out 16 distinct grants last year. I think the lowest one I saw was $20,000, and they went up from there. So these are not inconsequential amounts of money. They're really significant grants that are there to help these foundations put programs into place that are, as you said, Bruce, moving things forward on so many different fronts. I also noticed there was a focus right now on racial justice initiatives and access to justice initiatives. Are you seeing an uptick in programs or grant requests in those areas?
Well, the events of the last year that we're all, I think, painfully familiar with, and I'm not talking now about the attack on the Capitol. I'm talking about the examples where we've seen police abuse and systemic racial problems affecting low-income communities and Black communities. And so because of that, many communities are concerned about how to address that situation. And so we received about 50 different applications for grants in that area for a program that we are doing this coming year, which is a significant program directed at addressing that issue with grants that will be up to $250,000. So we're really trying to make a real big dent in that problem. And we're at the very end stage now of looking at the finalists. And we hope to make an announcement in the coming months about these grants.
Oh, well, when you do make those announcements, maybe I can entice you to come back on the show and we'll talk about that, because those are it's two grants that you're going to be making in that roughly $250,000 range.
The final decision will be up to the board, but that's a possibility of two, maybe three. I don't want to prejudge the board's decision. One area is in the area of systemic racial violence, and the other area is in how we might think about using mediation to address the situation that we've encountered with COVID and how the coronavirus has impacted families and communities, and in particular the area of housing.
Yeah, well, that's been, I know, an extremely significant factor. In fact, in the dispute resolution section of the ABA, that's been an initiative that I know the dispute resolution section has been trying to assist. David Larson, our incoming chair at Mitchell-Hamline University, is working on a program through Mitchell-Hamline that's trying to address that. So, but it's wonderful to see AAA-ICDR really making such a huge impact. I mean, these are such significant grants that it's really going to enable those programs that succeed in receiving the grants to make a huge difference, I hope, in the world. And it's another wonderful aspect of AAA-ICDR that there's these large grant projects that you're working on, but you also have some smaller initiatives that are ongoing throughout the year. And Tracey, you brought to our attention the Diversity Scholarship Fund. That was what I originally had spoken to Jeff about, and then to you. Can you explain what that scholarship fund is?
Sure. So the AAA had made a donation to the foundation and earmarked it for this initiative, for Diversity Scholarship Fund initiative. And so what the foundation has done with those funds is created this scholarship opportunity, and it's up to $2,000 of financial assistance towards participation in a degree program or a fellowship in alternative dispute resolution, or attendance at a well-recognized conference. I'll go through some examples, but it's sort of a diverse range of programs that people are looking to go to further their ADR credentials. And the mission is really just to get some more inclusion in the ADR field for folks who've been historically left out. And we've received I'd say over a dozen applications. We just started in June of 2020. So it's a new initiative, which I'm really glad to get the promotion about and get the word out there. So as the end of the year, we granted a total of 7 scholarships, and the application process couldn't be easier. It is 2 pages online on our website, AAAICDRFoundation.org. Go to the grants tab and you'll see a whole section on the Diversity Scholarship Fund. So it's a two-page application. We really just want to know that you're legitimate. You're diverse, you're looking to go to one of these programs, you've been accepted, if that's part of the program, that you've been accepted to the program, and you want financial aid. You don't have to prove anything about the need. It's just that it's going towards this program. So at the end of the year, we've granted over $12,000 for these diversity scholarships, and we have more to go. And we've been receiving applications. We review them on a rolling basis. We look at them quarterly. So you can apply anytime. It's unlike our other grant programs, which have a deadline and all that. This is just a rolling basis of applications. Some examples, we've had someone who applied for an LLM in dispute resolution at Pepperdine University, tuition costs to attend Racial Equity Action Institute in California, training costs at the Practicing Law Institute focused on mediation of employment disputes. Surprisingly, we've had a lot of international applications too. So it's been both in the US and abroad, and some international have been online courses organized by the International Training Center of Turin with the International Labor Organization in Geneva on conciliation, mediation of labor disputes, financial assistance with the diploma in international commercial arbitration delivered by the International Chamber of Commerce in Mexico City. So it really has been a really interesting group of applicants. And something we're hoping for this year is to really build out our website on the diversity scholarship so we can really see who it is who's getting these scholarships, the impact that this has made, on their pursuit of a career in ADR. So we're really excited about this initiative.
Yeah, it's such a wonderful initiative, because I think it's like, strikes me that it's focused in two ways. One, I think there's a shift lately, especially with COVID, with the court systems being either closed or inaccessible for people. So there's just a general shift in many ways in the legal community to dispute resolution, as well as this is really focusing on bringing diversity into the profession. So to, really helping people get the education and background or training in dispute resolution, but also getting it out to generally underserved populations and underrepresented in the profession. So that's one of the reasons why I got so excited when Jeff and you, Tracey, were telling me about this. Bruce, when you're talking about diversity and training, it strikes me that this could really apply in a variety of different ways, because from anything from maybe even a 40-hour training program all the way up to, as Tracey mentioned, people taking international training programs, or, the LLM at Pepperdine, one of our premier dispute resolution programs in the country. Is it intended to really be sort of an open prospect where people can, think about different ways to apply this? It's not just generally for schooling or university education.
Well, I think that's right. And I think that one of the, stated and maybe to some extent unstated goals here is that hopefully through this scholarship program, people will think about developing careers in dispute resolution, using the training, using the opportunity to go to these conferences to build their resume and enhance their career, so that when they go out, whether as professionals in disciplines other than law or in law or mediation, they will actually be making the field more diverse. So I think the larger long-term goal is to help people think about long-term careers, and then therefore build in a more diverse practice within our field of dispute resolution.
Yeah, I think so. Tracey, one of the things I was thinking of is this really can apply to, younger members who might be in school right now thinking about career paths, but also so many of our colleagues out there, especially in the legal profession. But, I'm talking to people in a variety of professions, mental health, financial professions, all of whom are considering a shift to dispute resolution or adding a dispute resolution to aspect to their current practice. In fact, I do mediation trainings with Woody Mawston, and we are seeing a huge influx of people who are wanting mediation training, but also from a variety of different backgrounds. So one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this on the podcast is I want people to know who are hearing this, it may not be that traditional route to a pathway in dispute resolution. This is really an opportunity for people to get some help funding a shift in their career, or perhaps consider a path in their career they had not considered before.
Right, absolutely. And I think one thing, when I was looking myself, I was, oh, how do you get a career in ADR? There is no traditional path. And so I think, you have to be creative, and that these types of opportunities that the scholarships are going to fund are the type of opportunities you need to take advantage of, in order to get to know who's who, and, how do you sort of get into this type of career. So I think it's sort of like one of the perfect kind of avenues to fund these things that you might otherwise say, oh, I'm not going to spend $1,000 on this, or, $2,000 to attend this type of training or do this type of program. But, this might be just the sort of push and the support that you need to do that.
Yeah, well, actually, the amount of money is a significant amount in order to, even if you were someone, say, who wanted to get started with a mediation career after having been in another career. Or I really find it interesting because both of you as professors, adjunct professors, so many law students, I've been even hearing in this past year, again, with the shift to an ADR focused, a lot of law students are considering careers in dispute resolution, where I would say more traditionally, they were thinking of moving into the law, and that dispute resolution would be something down the road in their career path. Maybe more along your lines, Bruce, you were a practicing attorney, then sat on the bench, obviously, of the Court of Appeals in Arizona. But I'm seeing more and more students thinking about moving into dispute resolution, which I think is heartening. I like bringing that younger mindset and skill set into our profession.
Well, I think when the students take courses in mediation, take courses in arbitration, and they start to see that there are other ways of resolving conflict, they get excited about that, and they ask the question about how can I do this without necessarily practicing law. And so fortunately, there are a number of career paths available, but I think part of our challenge is to try to create more, and to create more opportunities for young people who get excited about this area to be able to make a career in it.
Yeah.
And I tell my students all the time that being a professional in ADR doesn't mean that you're a full-time arbitrator, full-time mediator. You can look at someone like me. I work in an institution. There are opportunities, through the courts, through private organizations, non-for-profits, to be involved in ADR in other ways, other than just as the sort of traditional path and then a full-time neutral. And so I encourage students all the time to look at some of these other kinds of careers. You look at some of the listservs, like I'm here in New York, and Maria Volpe, John Jay College, has a great listserv, and they post positions all the time, that you wouldn't think of as your traditional sort of path to ADR. But if you have these sort of trainings and backgrounds, you'd be very well suited, to some of these opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, there's many career paths for us. I just actually was speaking to the head of HR in the company my husband runs, and she was saying she wants to take mediation training. Actually, I should probably tell her about this initiative, because it might be quite appealing to her. But it's really something where I am hopeful that when people hear about this, when the listeners are hearing this, be thinking about individuals that you know of who might find this opportunity. It's such a wonderful opportunity, so simple to apply for. And one of the other things you mentioned, Tracey, that I wanted to highlight is really another impact of COVID has been that training has shifted online as well as our practice. And so that has actually been a benefit, I think, to our field, because now there's even more opportunity for us to get basic training in dispute resolution and advanced trainings in dispute resolution. So this is something that I would imagine if somebody fits the profile for the Diversity Scholarship Fund, even if they're currently a diverse neutral and wanted advanced training, this would be something that they could apply for.
Yeah, absolutely. And now, like you said, you're not paying for travel costs, for hotel, you're just paying for the opportunity for the training. So I would think $2,000 would cover that.
Yeah, most trainings are. And actually, that reminds me, I wanted to ask Bruce, now, just because this is the Learn to Mediate Online podcast, has your practice shifted online during COVID?
Yeah, entirely. I think maybe there was one mediation where people wanted to do it in person. I reluctantly agreed. This was about 2 months ago. The parties in that case were Sudanese, and they felt that if we did it on Zoom, we would have a communication issue. But really, the entirety of my practice is now on Zoom. And I think that as more people are using the technology, they are getting more comfortable with it. And I think to the extent that our cases involve people from different locations, the choice of doing this on Zoom versus traveling is really not an issue. They really don't want to travel, and for health reasons. But I guess I would predict that this is going to continue even after we overcome the coronavirus. That if you think about, so often in a mediation, they'll say, well, the assurance adjuster will be available by phone. Okay. Well, now that's really not necessarily a good answer when they can be available on Zoom just as easily. So I think this is really going to be a real sea change in how we all do our work.
Yeah, I'm a pro bono mediator for the New York County Lawyers Association's Part 137 for attorney fee disputes. And they've announced that they're going to continue even after, we can go back to in person. They're going to continue their program to be all online, to be all virtual.
I think it's really going to be something that just changes the overall landscape of what we do. In fact, I'm working on an online training program with our colleague Harold Coleman, Dr. Deborah Dupree, and Mark Lassiter, also a AAA arbitrator and mediator. And we did a survey of mediators and arbitrators around the world. And one of the questions we asked was, once COVID is over and the opportunity to do proceedings in person is back, will you continue to offer services online? And 100% of the respondents said that they would either go back to in person, but also offer online. But the majority said they were just going to stay online, that they didn't want to go back to in person. And I think it's what Bruce is talking about with the convenience and the not having to travel and the expenses. But I digress. But I did want to know, I was wondering what your experiences of online mediation are, because for me, having been doing it for 5 years, I'm happy, and I'm happy that my colleagues are all finding out about the benefits and the conveniences of going online beyond social distancing. But I do want to just touch again on what you said, Tracey, about the making an application, because it strikes me there might be a timing issue for people if they want to take a program or sign up for a program. You mentioned that this is something that's reviewed quarterly. So when would the next review be if people wanted to put in an application now?
So we do have a place on the application that says, if you need a response by a certain date, let us know. Otherwise, it would be in March that we would look at the next round of applications. So I'd say like every 3 months, we look every quarter, we look at the applications. But otherwise, we do have a place that says, if you need a response, do let us know. So we
to make a program.
It's not like we let them sit and then just look at them. We do look at them on a rolling basis to make sure no one needs an immediate response. And they're quite easy to review. This is not an in-depth, it's sort of, okay, do they meet the criteria? Did they show us that they're legitimate? We do prefer to pay an institution where we can. So if you're going to an LLM program at Pepperdine, we prefer to pay for the credits directly to Pepperdine. We just want to make sure that obviously the money is going to the program, that you say that you're going to attend. But if that's not possible, then we would pay an individual if we made sure that this was a legitimate application and the program was happening. That's really our main concern. And then otherwise, we want to give this money away. That's what it's here for.
Well, and that's what really sparked this episode is, you have this money, you're there to give it away. And unfortunately, it just seems people don't know enough about it. So I'm hopeful that this is going to help. I thank you both for taking the time today and for what you do with the initiatives of AAA-ICDR, because the foundation is truly doing amazing work. I encourage everyone to go to the website, look at some of the grants that have gone out in the past 5 years, as Bruce mentioned, that the foundation has been in existence. This is truly good work, and it gives me a great deal. It gave me a great deal of pleasure looking at that and just seeing the initiatives that are being supported as we go forward. So thank you both for taking the time today. I'm going to put all of the links linked to the foundation's website, but also directly to the application for the Diversity Scholarship Fund, as well as both of your full bios and contact information. And I, again, very much appreciate you both taking the time today.
Susan, can I just add one more thing?
Of course.
And I think in addition to thanks to the American Arbitration Association for the generous support here, I do think it's important that we recognize the many AAA neutrals who themselves have made contributions here. And one of the things that the AAA has done, it has allowed people to allocate half of their panel fee to the work of the foundation. Hundreds, maybe even thousands of the AAA neutrals have actually done that. And I think what we saw is when we started the foundation that the neutrals, the individual mediators and arbitrators asked the question, how can I contribute? What can I do to support the work? And they've really stepped up in a significant financial way to do that. And I did want to make sure we acknowledged those many people who are helping.
Oh, I'm so glad you mentioned that. I did not realize that is such a significant contribution. And again, warms my heart to know that our colleagues are that behind helping to really, it really advances our entire profession. And AAA really stands for the top of the top in the profession. So thank you so much for mentioning that, Bruce. And thank you both again for coming today. I hope that you see a huge influx in applications for the Diversity Scholarship Fund as a result. Please pass this episode on, everybody, and make sure that you let everyone that you know about this opportunity.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.